Welcome into Friday Night Finals. I am Joe Hunk. You can always get in on Friday Night Finals. One way to do so is by giving us a call at 615-737-1045. Reed is over in the control room, taking your phone calls, getting your scores as you are leaving some high school action tonight around Middle Tennessee, or just kind of like our game was earlier and here just a little while ago. It could be even all the way into East Tennessee. So as that's getting on tonight, also know that Zone TV is up and running as well. So if you're sitting at the house, you kind of want to hop in on that F&M Bank chat. It is up and rolling for you as well, no matter if it is Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube. I guess I now also have to say X, even though I just said Twitter. But all of that's available to you in a way that you can get those scores to us tonight as we go through the action that has happened so far around Middle Tennessee in week 7 of the football season. We've got correspondents out across Middle Tennessee. In fact, we have got Sammy Kincaid that's over in Smyrna, as East Nashville and Smyrna are still currently tied, or I should say the score is currently 14-9 East Nashville. Up in that one. We'll talk to her in just a little bit. Jonathan Schaefer is going to be joining us at some point as well. Tate Matthews is going to be in, as CPA had a big win and had actually a big lead when we were going into halftime just a little while ago as well. So a lot of the games are starting to wrap up. There was only a few that got the accelerated clock, and those were over just a little early. But other than that, we've had a lot of great high school football. So tonight, not only are we going to be giving you some scores around Middle Tennessee, we're also going to try to give you updates on what's happening in each individual region through the classifications. As since we are in week 7, we only have a few weeks left of the regular season. Let's start talking about some of the playoffs and the potentials of what teams could and may be going to the playoffs as we get to it. But first, before we get to any of that, let's go ahead and talk about our 104.5 The Zone high school game of the week. Upperman 6-0 coming into this game, taking on Smith County, who hosted them 5-1. If you heard us just a little while ago, both teams used to be 3A. Now Upperman is 4A. Smith County is now 2A. And to start the scoring tonight, it was a fantastic 25-yard touchdown pass that got everything going for Upperman. Now, Upperman would go up 7-0 in that one. Smith County would go back and forth with Upperman, both exchanging punts going into the second quarter. Then in the second quarter, Smith County gets the football. They're trying to drive down the field, and then this happens. Upperman gets the football back. Once they get the football back, it was just a few moments later when Ethan Paul put the exclamation points on the game and that drive. And that's it. That's basically every highlight from the game that we have here on 104.5 The Zone, because the final score was 14-0. The entire second half was just back and forth. Smith County struggled at times to get in across the 50-yard line to get into action. They eventually got a couple of turnovers that gave them some opportunities, but Smith County never really able to get anything going in this ball game to score on Upperman. And every time Upperman got the football, they just killed clock and ran the football and killed it. And honestly, it was an extremely fast fourth quarter, and for the final to be 14-0 in that one. Now, totally different from last week, because we were joking around, and I mean, we had 4 highlights just in the first quarter in like the first 6 minutes of the ball game that we had between with East Nashville and a couple of weeks ago, or last week, I should say. Also, if you haven't figured it out yet or not, if I have one word in the English language that I cannot pronounce properly or I always struggle with, it's explanation point because I literally cannot say it. Don't know why, but that's exactly what Ethan Polk did to go up to 14 to nothing. Now, the F&M Bait Chat, we've told you that is open, and you can get some of those scores in to us here on 104.5 The Zone as we go through Friday night finals, and we keep you updated on a lot of those. In fact, Steven hops in to let us know that Alcoa took out West tonight 24-7, and that's a big win for Alcoa because going into that ball game, both Alcoa and West both were undefeated in that one. So Alcoa getting the big win in that. Now, let's go ahead. Let's start going through some of these scores around the Middle Tennessee area. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go through a lot of scores, and as we get closer and closer to the end of the show, we'll start individually focusing on the different regions and letting you know what different classifications and regions are doing when it comes to some of the games and possibly what we're starting to look at when it comes to playoff implications. But Reed, let's go ahead and hit that music and let's go ahead and get to it. We're going to hear from Tate Matthews in just a little bit, and he had a nicely calm football game. A CPA won tonight 51-0 over Webb School. It was Franklin or Grace Franklin getting the 41-0 victory over Mount Juliet Christian. Nashville Christian defeated Good Pasture in a fantastic ball game tonight, 31-30. The crazy thing about this is we were talking during halftime about Good Pasture. They have not won a game in region yet, but to have a hard matchup like they just had tonight and winning 31-30. Now, the update that we currently have on Franklin Road Academy, it was the last update we got was 6-3. I know that has actually grown significantly in the second half. In fact, Ty Clark of Franklin Road Academy, I believe, has 3 touchdowns tonight. So we'll get confirmation on that here in just a little bit. Now, we're also still looking for Clarksville Academy score. They took on Columbia Academy tonight. BGA and Pope John Paul played each other tonight. We don't have a confirmation on that score either at the moment. MBA, who started the season off 0-5, they won last week, and at the moment, they are currently up 17-12 on Knoxville Catholic. I'll explain why that's such a big deal here in just a little bit. Knoxville Webb is up at the moment and actually just got that final victory, 38-0. One school that we were looking for an update for a little while ago during halftime was Pearl Cone, as they are hosting Whites Creek, and we actually just got an update on our phone lines as Pearl Cone gets that 49-0 win tonight to stay undefeated in that. You can get some scores to us, 615-737-1045 here in just a little while. We'll continue going through a lot of these scores here on 1045 The Zone. Now, when we come back, we're going to go back into the F&M Bank chat, get you some updates from some of the listeners that are getting on tonight, letting us know how some of those games are going. Also, we've got the phone lines open to you at 615-737-1045 as well, and we'll continue getting you updated, not just with Middle Tennessee, but we'll start to also look at West and East Tennessee as well, just because once we start getting into playoff time, all of these games are going to start to matter when it comes to trying to filling out the brackets for the playoffs. But again, you can get your scores in if you're listening and driving down the road, 615-737-1045, as this is Friday Night Finals, 1045 The Zone. Continuing on Friday night finals here on 104.5 The Zone, I am Joe Hunk with you until 11 o'clock tonight. So we got a little bit of time to hang out, talk about some of the games around Middle Tennessee, around East Tennessee, as well as West Tennessee, because this is now getting to the point where once we start getting into playoff time, these schools are all going to be kind of connected throughout the state, and we're going to need to be paying attention to what everybody is doing throughout the state of Tennessee. Before we start going back into some more scores, wanted to kind of bring your attention to something that has kind of been talked about off and on. We've had some people inside the F&M Bank chat on Zone TV talk about how good the Clarksville Wildcats have been so far this season. And there's a lot of good offenses. We talked to Tate Matthews about this last week as well on Friday Night Finals, about some of the best offenses throughout the state of Tennessee. But what the Clarksville Wildcats are doing is crazy to see how many points they're putting up and how amazing their defense has been playing so far this season. Because not without going through the entire schedule, here are some of the scores that so far Clarksville has had in their season right now coming into tonight's game. They've won 56-0, 42-0, 48-7, 42-7. Those are just some of the scores. So not only is their offense putting up massive numbers, but their defense is just showing out. Tonight, looking to go 7-0, they took on Clarksville Northwest. And they put up a massive score again. In fact, yet another shutout, 55-0. Clarksville gets that victory tonight over Clarksville Northwest to go to 7-0 on the season and 4-0 in region play. Now, if you've got some scores for us, in fact, I know Reed is over there on the phone right now taking some scores as far as we have gotten a lot of overtimes tonight. Is in fact that Good Pasture game that we were just talking about, that 1-point loss that they had was an overtime ball game. And a lot of games going into overtime tonight, you are starting getting into the time where some schools are having their bye weeks as well. You've heard that during our broadcast that we had tonight between Upperman and Smith County about how Upperman's going to have an off week next week. So some of these schools, we're going to be getting into some of their regions and what their regions are doing as compared to how they're doing. Again, Good Pasture they have yet to win it in region play, but played very well tonight. Steven letting us know on the F&M Bank chat that Maryville lost to Bearden tonight 21-0, and that they've lost 3 games already. Steven even hopping in and letting us know, because we mentioned the Pearl Cone win just a little while ago, the big win that they had over Whites Creek tonight, about how Slade was talking smack earlier on 3HL. And it looks like Pearl Cone backed it up. So you can get on the F&M Bank chat on Zone TV, or you can shoot us a tweet on X at 1045 The Zone, at myself, at Joe Hunk as well, as we go through some of the scores. Reed is in the background, I told you just a few moments ago, getting those scores, and we will be relaying some of those to you here in just a little bit. But as he does so, let's go ahead and fire up that music, and we'll go ahead and get some more of these scores that has been sent in to us and called into us over the last few minutes. Nashville Christian and Good Pasture, just mentioned that one. We'll start with that one. That was an OT game, 31-30. Nashville Christian getting the lead and the win. Columbia Central and Spring Hill, 20-12 in that one. I believe that score that we are given may not be 100% accurate on there. I want to double check that as we're talking right now, because nope, that is right. Spring Hill and Columbia. I apologize. Columbia gets the 20-17 victory, as a matter of fact. Station Camp took out White House tonight, 21-15. That game also went into overtime. You also have Franklin County and Lincoln County playing tonight down towards the Tennessee and Alabama line. Lincoln County getting the 28-24 victory at the moment as well. This game just wrapping up a few moments ago. Marshall County won 41-0 over Creekwood, and they go now to 6-1 on the regular season. Britain gets a 48-6 win over Republic, as Republic still without a win so far this season. One game that we've been paying attention to And we're going to wrap up with that one here in just a little bit. I'll save that one just for that. But Ezel Harding tonight, as a matter of fact, they are playing in their homecoming game as they had an 11-7 victory tonight over the Kings Academy. Brentwood Academy, who's only 1-5 on the season, almost beat Clearwater Academy. They were in at the end of the game. The final score was 34-25. Lipscomb Academy and Christian Brothers playing each other tonight, as well as at the moment we don't have the final for you, but I do know that Christian Brothers was up on Lipscomb Academy, the very last that we saw. So that game is not yet finished, and they are currently still going on. But there's still about 7 minutes or so left in the fourth quarter. So we'll get that final for you here in just a little bit. At the moment, though, it is 34-14. Matter of fact, I was wrong. It just started the fourth quarter in that one as we go through these scores here around Middle Tennessee. You had Hendersonville tonight taking out Springfield 21-7 as Hendersonville got that win on the road. You had Dixon County losing to Rossview 28-6. Henry County got the 45-13 victory tonight over Portland. You can also look at even South Fulton getting a 27-7 win over Greenfield. Lake County won a big one over Gleason tonight, 62-14, as we start to go a little bit further out inside of Tennessee as well. Greenbrier and White House Heritage played each other tonight. Greenbrier picking up the 27-15 win in that one. That is their second win of the season. Their only win up until that point happened against Whites Creek at the beginning of September when they won 21-0. And they just defeated White House Heritage 27-15. And next week, that is exactly who Pearl Cone is going to be facing inside of the region. Other games that are happening as well. Nolensville and Hillsboro, a massive matchup of 5-1 teams. That game, it is actually just finished up in this one as Nolensville came into this game just getting knocked out and losing to Centennial last week, 17-14. They were one of the undefeated teams that did lose last week. Came back in this week looking for a little bit of a rebound in that, and they actually got it tonight as they won 20-16. Earlier tonight, Independence, this was one of the games that wrapped up pretty quickly as they defeated Overton 35-0 in that one. We're still looking for a Franklin and Brentwood score. If you have that for us, 615-737-1045. Get you in on this one. Centennial tonight beat Glencliff 62-0 in that. Now, not just that they beat Glencliff in that score, but over the course of the last 4 weeks, which Centennial is undefeated so far in the season. That's the team that beat Nolensville. We just talked about a few moments ago. They won last week 17-14. In the last 4 weeks, Centennial has beaten Lawson, Springfield, Nolensville, and Glencliff. And it was only Nolensville that actually scored on Centennial in those 4 games. The other 3 was a 35-0 win over Lawson, another 35-0 win over Springfield, and tonight they got a 62-0 victory. They still have Brentwood next week. They also have to take on Page coming up on October 20th, and then they finish the season in region play as they play Hillsboro. Some other games that are going on. You had Station Camp tonight with a 21-15 victory over White House, and Waverly picked up a 35-0 win over a Summertown team that is still yet to get a win in this regular season. Smyrna and East Nashville coming down to the final few minutes of the ball game, as Smyrna has been down 14-9 for majority of this game, and they just scored a touchdown and got the 2-point conversion. and they are now leading 17-14 over East Nashville with a minute and 34 to go in the ball game. That is the MyTV 30 Friday Night Rivals game of the week. Sammy Kincaid is going to be joining us when that wraps up. Zach just hopped in on the F&M Bank chat to let us know that East Robertson got a narrow, and I mean narrow, 13-12 win over Westmoreland tonight. And wrapping it up, our scores for this go-round, Mount Pleasant defeated DCA 37-29. Now, we have more scores coming in. We're going to get those when we come back. We still have a lot of games that are still wrapping up because those didn't go as quickly as ours did tonight between Upperman and Smith County. I mean, we would play those highlights for you. But again, it was literally only 3 highlights. The whole game was wrapped up and everything happened in the first half. Smith County, Upperman, everything happened in the first half. 14-0 is your final and our 104.5 The Zone high school game of the week. We've got more calls coming in. We're going to get to those. Reed is on the other side taking your phone call. So if you've got a score that we have not mentioned yet, get those to him, and he's going to relay those to us as we continue here on Friday Night Finals on 104.5 The Zone. Continuing on Friday Night Finals here on 104.5 The Zone as we inch closer to 10 p.m. here in Middle Tennessee. Hope you are having a fantastic night. I know a lot of people are listening on the 104.5 The Zone app as they are starting to get out of the listening area because they just may be heading somewhere east like Knoxville to be getting ready for a specific football game that you'll be able to hear here on 104.5 The Zone coming up tomorrow night. Now, some scores that we're going to get into here in just a little bit and get more in depth in the 10 o'clock hour, as a lot of games are starting to wrap up right now. But one that I wanted to kind of focus on before we wrap up this hour of Friday night finals, and it has to do with NBA, who has had, let's just say they've had a rough season. Now, they played a lot of good teams at the very beginning of the season, including Pearl-Cohn and Innsworth and CPA, who had a massive win tonight. But going into this game tonight between NBA and Knoxville Catholic, NBA was only 1-5 on the season. And the only win coming against Father Ryan, and it was a 24-20 upset of that game. But then they took on Knoxville Catholic tonight, who came into the matchup with a 4-1 record, as a matter of fact. A 4-1 record, and they had beat teams like Lakewood Christian. They had beaten teams like St. Paul out of South Alabama, Briarcrest Christian. Big victories that they had gotten throughout not just the state of Tennessee, but also through the Southeast. NBA picked up the 17-12 victory tonight over Knoxville Catholic in a massive win for NBA. So congratulations to them. I mentioned just a little while ago that if you choose to, you can watch on Zone TV, and the F&M Bank chat is open to you on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, as well as on X. And Christopher hops in to talk about Clarksville going 7-0 as they took out Northwest tonight, 55-0. And just get ready to hear about this Clarksville team, because not only are they scoring a ton of points, but their defense has been dominant over the last 4 weeks. And they are not giving up a lot of points at all so far in this season. In fact, outside of maybe one game, I think that they have barely even given up 14 points in any game so far this season. So Clarksville picking up that victory. In fact, Brian also hops in as he is watching on YouTube tonight to let us know about the CPA win over Webb, as they won tonight. And the fact that CPA put up 51 points just in the first half as they have been playing so far, and the fact that they have put up 49 points, 41 points multiple times, and all this against district teams. CPA is playing fantastic over the last few weeks, and we'll talk to Tate Matthews about those coming up here in the 11 o'clock hour. Now, before we get into that, let's go over a few more scores, some games that are wrapping up. If you're just hopping in the car for the very first time and you haven't heard some of the updates of some of the games here in Middle Tennessee, Reed, go ahead and hit that music as we are talking. Smyrna and East Nashville are about to wrap up. There are only 3 seconds left in that game, so we'll have that final for you here in just a little bit. I expect us to have a phone call during the 10 o'clock or 10 p.m. hour, as Ravenwood picked up yet another victory tonight over Summit, 24-7. McKenzie got a 57-7 victory over Perry County tonight. Greenbrier picked up its second win of the season over White House Heritage, 27-15. Looking at some of the private schools and some finals that we got from that one. Clarksville Academy took an L tonight as they lost to Columbia Academy on the road, 38-7. Also, Nashville Christian picking up that 31-30 victory over Good Pasture. We know that game happened in overtime as well. Father Ryan and MUS playing tonight, 28-24. Father Ryan takes the L in that one. We've also been telling you about how you can get in on the phone lines at 615-737-1045. We had a caller just a few seconds ago let us know that Rossview took out Dixon County 28-6. And that is Rossview's 5th straight win, and they are currently leading their region. As we go into the 10 o'clock hour, we're going to talk a little bit more about these specific regions And in fact, as we wrapping up this hour, Smyrna takes out East Nashville tonight, 17-14, scoring late in that ball game in a final that we just had come across the board as Pope John Paul II gets a win over Battleground, 34-33. When we return, 10 p.m. hour. We're going till 11 o'clock. You can get your scores in at 615-737-1045. This is Friday Night Finals on 1045 The Zone. Christian Brothers still has a solid lead over Lipscomb Academy right now, but it doesn't mean Lipscomb Academy is still not going down without a fight. 41-21 the score, but Lipscomb Academy just got in the end zone just a little while ago. That game still has 6 minutes to go in the game. Welcome into Friday Night Finals, 10 o'clock hour. We are going to 11 o'clock tonight, so you can get your scores in various ways. First way, let's go old school, 615-737-1045. Phone lines are open to you. Our man Reed is in the control room right now taking all of your calls, sending them to us, making sure that we have those as we go throughout the remainder of the evening. The other ways you can get in at it, we're on live on X. You can shoot us a tweet, 1045 The Zone, at Joe Hunk is how you can get myself. And, of course, Zone TV is up and rolling. That means that you can hop in on that F&M Bank chat. And no matter if it is Twitter, X, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, all of those places. We are live right now. You comment there, and we will see your scores, and we will relay them to everybody, not just in Middle Tennessee, but actually across the Southeast that's watching right now as it is going through. So those are all your ways to get in on the action that we've had so far here in the state of Tennessee, and specifically Middle Tennessee. If you weren't able to listen tonight, our high school game of the week was between Smith County and Upperman. Upperman getting the 14-0 victory, and doing so by scoring 2 touchdowns in the first half. And the entire second half was literally just Upperman killing the clock as quickly as they possibly could to finish off that game to remain undefeated. Now, coming up in just a little bit, we're going to talk a little bit more and focus a little bit more on each individual region, just so that you can kind of know what's going on in the different regions here in Middle Tennessee, so that you can kind of see how the regions are ranking as we go along. A lot of high-scoring games that we've seen so far tonight, as you have had CPA with a massive win tonight. You have also had Centennial throw up a ton of points tonight in a victory. Clarksville, which arguably we've talked about multiple times over the course of the last few Friday nights, how they have probably, you could say, probably the best offense and defensive combination throughout the entire state of Tennessee, because the amount of points that they're putting up, combined with the fact that nobody is scoring on this team, is showing that they're going to be pretty good, and they're going to go far in the Tennessee State playoffs as we get closer and closer to that. So some scores that so far that our man Reed over in the control room has got, that he has sent to us from some of your calls so far tonight. Pearl Cone tonight stays undefeated, 49-0 as they beat Whites Creek in that one. Good Pasture, there were multiple games that went into overtime. Good Pasture and Nashville Christian was one of them. 31-30 the final in that one. Columbia beat Spring Hill tonight 20-17 in overtime. Station Camp and White House also went into OT, with Station Camp picking up the 21-15 victory. And another one of our phone calls that we had just a while ago, that was easy to say. Rossview beat Dixon County 28-6. So those are some of the finals that we have throughout Middle Tennessee tonight, and we're going to be having some more here in just a little bit, as we're going to be joined by Tate Matthews. He's going to talk about that CPA win. In fact, we also have Sammy Kincaid's going to be joining us here in just a few seconds, as she just wrapped up Friday Night Rivals. In that one, a fantastic football game. Look, there's a lot of times we can talk about games and say, oh, yeah, this one's great. Oh, yeah, this one's great. They're not all great football games, okay? They're just not. But the one that was on my TV tonight, in my TV 30 and Friday Night Rivals, that one was fantastic. And Sammy joins us right now, which, I mean, are you still on the field? The game just ended, Sammy. Like, I appreciate it, but are you still on the field?
No, I actually parked right outside of the field. So I was able to get to my car pretty quick tonight, and I about got taken out. They were so excited in that post-game interview. So I scurried quick out of that huddle and to my car.
Okay, now in here, first off, before we even get into the game itself, and before we even talk about some of the other cool things that's happened, I feel like it's becoming a weekly tradition for you. And I don't know why this is. I think you may need to talk to the folks at My TV 30. I do. Because having you in the middle of a huddle with the winning team and handing them this trophy always seems to end badly for you. Why is that?
Well, you see, I don't think it's a secret that I'm about 5 foot nothing, and so I have a little bit of a height disadvantage whenever I'm trying to battle to get out of that huddle. But I absolutely love being in the huddle. It's a lot of fun being a part of that moment that these players are going to remember as a really special memory of their high school career.
Well, and the game was awesome, and I was talking about it right before you hopped on because, you know, for the longest time, the game that you were covering was very similar to the game that we did tonight on 104.5 The Zone, where you had some scoring in the first half, but really nothing happened in the second half. And I kept looking up at the television and watching this game. It was 14-9 and 14-9 and 14-9. But then what happened? Late in this game, can you help us?
Yeah, no, I mean, it was really a defensive battle in that second half. And then with just over 3 minutes left to go in the game, you get a fumble, and Smyrna gets the ball with, it was actually about 4 minutes left in the game, and like you said, they were down by 5, and I got to give a shout-out to Mike Robinson. He didn't have any catches the entire game, but he had three straight catches during that drive, and two of those were got Smyrna first downs, and then he ended up coming out for a little bit to catch his breath, and then his teammates really picked it up, and what an incredible score that they had by Tyreek McCarver. He had an incredible game tonight. He actually got hit in the ribs and came out for a little bit, and you could see him on the sidelines. He was so mad. He had so much fight in him in this game tonight, and he had an incredible 9-yard touchdown with 2:32 left in the game. They end up going for the 2-point conversion, which East Nashville got a penalty, and East Nashville kept getting penalties in really big moments, and it was really hurting them in those big moments. And so it ends up moving the ball up about 1.5 yards for that 2-point conversion. So that makes it 17-14. And it actually got really interesting there at the end because the clock is running down, but then East Nashville got a unsportsmanlike, which ended up stopping the clock. And then Smyrna ended up having to run a play on 4th down, trying to run out the last 8 seconds of the game. They don't. There's still 3 seconds left on the clock. And so East Nashville is able to try to take a shot down the field. And East Nashville was pretty upset there at the end. They thought there should have been pass interference on the call, but refs say no, game's over, and Smyrna ends up winning on homecoming.
Well, and the part about this is a lot of times, Sammy, we'll go through Friday night finals and we'll say, this team scored this much, this team scores this much, and that's all that we will say, who won and who lost. But no, East Nashville came into this game 5-0, or 5-1. They had just lost to FRA last week. In fact, that game was right here on 104.5 The Zone. They lose that game, but then you turn it around, and Smyrna came into this one losing the first 4 games of the regular season. They had just won back-to-back games coming into this, and now Smyrna just won this to go to 3-4 on the season. When talking to their head coach, like, did he say anything about that first half of the season and the struggle in that and keeping the players good to go going into the second half so far?
Absolutely. Coach Williams, that was one of his big things that he hit on this week whenever we talked to him was that first half of the season, that was an extremely tough schedule. So whenever they went 0-4, the message to the team was just keep believing. And that message continued tonight in his post-game speech to his team. He said, I told you every single week, I've told you, just keep believing. Our dreams are still there. They're still alive. And the fact that you believed is why we were able to get it done tonight. That was a really good East Nashville team, and you were able to get it done tonight. It was an incredible battle by both sides. I think both of these programs are definitely going in the right direction, but a huge win to extend that streak to 3 wins for Smyrna.
All right, and before the game even started, because you guys do so much on my TV 30 when you talk to players and all of this, but tonight before the game started, we were sitting here and watching, and we see one of Smyrna's players, Thomas Jones, make his announcement as to where he was committing to school, and I started texting you back and forth because as I was looking over all of his huddles and his 24/7 and Rivals and all the different pages and places you could go to, I saw scholarships and offers from like Austin Peay and Tennessee State and some of those. But then I look up and I had to text you because I went, wait a second, did he just say Vandy? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, no, that was actually the play-by-play, Max Hertz. He was the one that got the scoop on this, and give him credit for it. But it was a really, really cool story. It's the first time a commitment has ever happened on the actual game. And whenever Max was talking to him in the middle of the week, he said that he had a quiet commitment actually already to TSU. And he said, I think I'm going to be able to make that public during the game. I would really like to do that. And he tweeted out yesterday, I'm going to make my commitment tomorrow on TV. And he ended up getting a message from Vanderbilt, which is his dream school. And Vanderbilt offered him the preferred walk-on. And so it was kind of funny, though, because his best friend even thought that he was going to go to Tennessee Tech.
Wow.
I mean, it was all over the place. It really was all over the place. So nobody knew except for Max. He was the only person that was clued in on where he was actually going to be going. But a really special moment, and he scored a touchdown tonight, and he flashed the VU as he scored the touchdown. Really special night for him.
Well, look, I know that when it comes to getting an offer from your dream school, how crazy it is. And you and I have never talked about this, but my offer to my dream school was also as a preferred walk-on spot. So I feel, and I know exactly what he's going through, and just being like, wait a second, you're really doing this because you saw a tweet that I sent out 24 hours ago. So that is absolutely crazy in this. But where are you going to be? Like, hold up, where are you going to be next Friday? Okay, I need to know this because we need
So,
to start prepping for this thing. I need to let you know what you're getting into.
it actually, I'm going to throw you off here, Hunk. We are off next week because it's fall break for majority of the schools.
I should
So
know
since
that.
it's fall break, we are not going to have a game next week. We will be back the following week, though, at Oakland, hosting Coffee County. So really pumped for that one.
I should actually know that because my son is off next week because he's going to the beach with his grandparents. So I really should have known that. I should have known that you were gonna be off as well. So hey, but you know what? Here's what's crazy though, Sammy, and I do this for Tate, and we do this on a lot of times. And I go, you know what, Tate? Tell us what's coming up tomorrow on your show. Sammy, I can do this with you now as well. I can be like,
Yes.
Sammy, tell us what's happening on your show that you're going to have here on 104.5 The Zone.
Yes, Hunk. I am so excited. It's the second week of Power Hour with yours truly. And this week, I had to bring her on early on with the show starting. We have the queen of Nashville, Miss Teresa Walker, joining me. We're talking a lot of Titans. And on the show, we talk a lot of it's all about highlighting women in sports. We'll talk all sports. But I do like having on other females in the industry to come on, talk sports with me. We'll talk about their career, how they got to where they are, some advice to those maybe wanting to get into the industry. And so there was no one better than to have on Teresa Walker.
I absolutely love Teresa Walker. I'm telling you, she is like, and I think that you can agree, she's like this mother figure for all the young women in sports media here in Middle Tennessee, like in Nashville, whether you're covering the Titans, whether you're covering Vanderbilt or Tennessee, or even, Tennessee State, Tech, Martin, all those schools. And in high school, like, I feel like she's just this motherly figure over all of the lady broadcasters here throughout Middle Tennessee.
She absolutely is. She's been a mentor to me ever since I was in college at Tennessee. Another mentor in the industry to me, Carl Heineman. He used to take me on all of his shoots. He does a ton of stuff for ESPN, and he introduced me to Teresa, who is also a Tennessee grad, and she has always taken me under her wing, and I am extremely grateful for all the advice she's given me over the years.
Well, I would say we'll talk to you next week, Sammy, but that's not going to be the case, so I'll talk to you in 2 weeks then. How about that?
Sounds great, Hunk.
Fall
Thank you
break.
so much.
All right, have a great one, ma'am. Have fun. Sammy Kincaid on that My TV 30 game. Fantastic finish between Smyrna and East Nashville. Now, coming up here in just a few minutes, Tate Matthews is going to join us. CPA got a humongous victory tonight. We're going to talk to him about that. Before we go to break, let's get through and get to a few more scores that we have had come in so far here on our F&M Bank chat as Clearwater. We're getting told it got and defeated Brentwood Academy tonight, 34-25. Before we talk to Sammy, BGA had a massive comeback. They were down at one point in time, 17 points, came back and just lost to Pope John Paul II, 34-33. You also had some other ones happening throughout the Middle Tennessee area as Lipscomb Academy and Christian Brothers still going right now, but Christian Brothers has a 41-21 win. And if you just hopped in and you missed it, NBA getting a massive victory tonight, their second win of the regular season, beating Knoxville Catholic 17-12. When we come back, we got Tate Matthews at some point in time. I know we're going to talk a little bit about Ravenwood because they picked up a dub as well tonight. Friday Night Finals continues next on 104.5 The Zone. 40 minutes remain in Friday Night Finals tonight here on 104.5 The Zone. I am Joe Hunk. Reed is behind the glass taking your phone calls at 615-737-1045 as a lot of games wrapping up around not just Middle Tennessee, also West Tennessee starting to wrap up as well as the playoff picture is starting to get just a little bit clearer here in the state of Tennessee as we are now into week 7 of the regular season, which is crazy because we're not even into October yet. That actually doesn't happen until Sunday. But tonight, CPA took on Webb and massive victory for that team. And joining us right now is a man that you're also going to hear tomorrow morning. Tate Matthews joins us on 104.5 The Zone. And Tate, let me just ask, I see the score, man. Score 51-0 on that victory, but what were some of the cool things that happened in that game?
Well, it was a good night for the Lions. Everybody got to play, and a lot of people got to get in the end zone, so it was a fun night. Got to start the night off at the Bell Buckle Cafe. That never disappoints. Don't know if you've ever been there, but it's a must if you're ever in that area. The Bell Buckle Cafe was packed, didn't disappoint. Went with the chicken and dumplings, and it was a win for sure. But the Lions played well. 51 points. I believe they were all in the first half, but a lot of people scored. Jackson Matthews started the game off, took the opening kickoff back for a touchdown, and it was just kind of all Lions from there. Andre Evans had a touchdown reception, and Owen Cabell was back. It was his first week back since the Pro Cum game, so it was good to see Owen back. He had a touchdown reception, and Jackson had a touchdown reception. So 3 touchdown passes for Braden Streeter. Dylan Reed got in the end zone. Ian McGargy, senior Ian McGargy, recovered a fumble in the end zone for a touchdown, and we got a safety too. But the play of the night came from my man Eli Young from the linebacker position. He got him an interception, first career interception, and you should have heard the sideline, man. They were fired up.
Oh, that is awesome. Now, look, I don't want to try to overlook a football game. Like I would never want to say a game means a little bit more than another one does, but because I know CPA has Antioch next week, but I do know that, Antioch right now is like 3-4 on the season. So I know that is something different and it's not a region game. But coming up in 2 weeks, CPA has a massive football game. And I know that it's big not just for region play, but it's also big, because of who it is. Like, is this kind of an all roads lead to Franklin Road Academy? I didn't mean for it to sound like that, but you see what I'm saying? Like, is that kind of what everybody's focused on right now for CPA?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think they would say Antioch's a good football team. They've got some good wins. They got a really good quarterback in the Adams youngster. He's a freshman quarterback. You know about him. You've talked about him a lot. He's had a big year. They've got athletic guys that can get behind you, and if they get in space, they can score. So I don't think that will be the message from Coach Martin. No.
Okay. No, and look, Antioch has a weird season going because they're 3-4, but their 3 wins have all been in region play. So I mean, so that's where I'm. Go ahead.
No, yeah, I think they got a good chance to win that thing. You're not talking about them making the playoffs. We're talking about them possibly winning the region championship. And I think Coach Devin Arnold, there's a lot of people who have done great jobs this year, but I don't know that anybody's done a better job than him. What he's done with that Antioch program is unbelievable. I mean, they were about as low as you could go when he took that thing over. And we're sitting here talking about them maybe winning a region championship. So, no, I think that's a tough opponent. It'll be on Thursday night right before fall break. But, yes, the FRA game probably both going to be unbeaten in the region. And, as you know, FRA beat CPA last year. Yep. So that's going to be a heck of a game for sure.
So in talking about Antioch and that, because, the way I started probably sounded a little disrespectful, and I apologize for that.
No.
I mean,
we got what you were saying.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a region game, but what you were talking about is changing a program around, and I think that especially we talk about in college, we talk about it in the pros. Obviously, I mean, we talk about with the Titans and Vols all the time, but from like a high school standpoint, how hard is it to try to change a program around mainly more public than private. But how is that difficult for a high school coach to come in and change a program around like that?
I think very hard at a place like Antioch. You're in Metro Nashville. That's a place that's easier to go to out of zone schools, right? So not only do you have to fight to keep your kids that are zoned to your school from going to other Metro Nashville public schools, but then you've got 15 private schools that surround you. First thing he had to do was come in and keep his own kids, which he's done, and then get some excitement around the program to where they want to be a part of it, and then start competing in the games. And then, as you've seen this year, they're starting to win those games. So I think it's very hard in the situation that he's in, and makes it even more impressive what he's done.
Well, and I know that we're talking a lot about it. I know you've got more coming up tomorrow. Your show gets going at 8 a.m. Here on 104.5 The Zone. And, I know you wrap it up with Krieger, but what else do you guys have going on when it comes to recapping a lot of these games tonight?
Well, I had a first tonight. We were on our way home from Bell Buckle and got a call. We had some friends on the side of the interstate, so we had to turn around and go back and get them. So I haven't done much of that yet, but I do know Coach Bill Alexander of Liberty Creek's going to be with us for sure. So the Wolves had a nice win over Kirkwood tonight. We'll talk to Coach Alexander, and then we'll have another coach, and then, like you mentioned, we'll finish up with Tom Krieger.
Now, let me double check. Now, was this like car trouble, or are you about to just roll them over to the Performance Therapy Institute? Like, what kind of trouble are we talking about?
No, the performance therapy. Well, they might, because when we had to go pick up the other. We got both Coach Matthews in the car tonight. We had to go get the other one, and we pulled up, and there was several of them. It looked like they were trying to figure out how to change a flat tire, but I don't know. It didn't look like it was going very well. I don't think the Performance Therapy Institute could have helped with that, but it looked like there might be a couple of injuries at the end of this, and they can definitely help with that.
Okay, so if for some reason you hurt yourself trying to change a tire, or any other thing that you should possibly be leaving to somebody else, Performance Therapy Institute's a place to go, because they can't help with that, right? That's why you say that.
They can. So, that's where to take your athletes if they get hurt. The Performance Therapy Institute, performnashville.com. Josh Colbert and his crew, they have the weekend hours at the Franklin office. But we've been talking about the proactive services, right, Hunk? So
right.
I think what some of these guys could do, the laser therapy, the Normatec boots, maybe after this night of the car trouble, they can go and get some laser therapy next week.
Oh, God, I love how we just spun this. Tate, I appreciate it. I know Coach is with you, so I know you get things going at 8 o'clock. At 9 o'clock, we hand it over for Coach as he gets going, and we cannot wait for you guys to get going in the morning at 8 o'clock, sir.
Yeah, Coach was pumped up. Anytime there's a special teams touchdown, he loves that. But the other thing with this car trouble is it's way past his bedtime, so we got to get him home.
All right, we'll get Coach home. He's got to get up early in the morning. So do you, and we'll talk to you next week. All right, sir.
See you, brother.
All right,
have a great rest of the show.
Hey, thank you so much, Tate Matthews and Coach Matthews back there listening, and as we go along on Friday Night Finals, talking about all the high school football action here. Another school that we talk about a lot. It's kind of become a thing, with everybody just kind of has a random thing that just kind of evolves as a season goes along. And for Friday Night Finals in 2023, it's been Ravenwood. It just has. Like, I don't know how this started. I don't know how and where it's going to be going. But for some reason, every single week, we sit and we talk about Ravenwood, and we talk about how they're winning and how well they're playing. And then it has grown into their play-by-play voice has called in. And ever since he started calling in, they have continued to win. So we always say, look, if you're going to win, call us back next week and we'll talk about yet another victory. And Chris Bosen joins us right now because Ravenwood won again, Chris. Like, what's going on, bro? I mean, I'm telling you, we're looking at what, 6 wins in a row now after the start of the season. You guys lost to Alcoa, but now you've run off
right.
6 wins. Like, what's going on, man?
Look, this team, we knew coming in with a senior class of just 20 on the roster, a small senior class, that they would have some growing pains early on. They're coming into their own, and tonight they get a 24-7 homecoming victory over Summit to move, like you said, to 6-1. More importantly, 3-0 in region play to stay tied atop those region standings, and there's just 2 region games left. And the only thing that spoiled a shutout was in the final seconds. Coach Brian Coleman calls a couple of timeouts. Dominic Hollis rips off a 50-plus yard run and punches it in on 3rd down from a yard out to spoil it a bit. The Raptor defense couldn't quite preserve the shutout, but they've got 4 turnovers tonight, including a fumble recovery and an interception by a name you may be familiar with, Pollard. This by Jalen Pollard.
I know him.
And then a punt muff recovered by Donovan Starr, and a fumble recovered by Kenner Schlitt. Raptors put 24 points on the board, and they did it without the services of Carter Pace tonight.
Oh, wow. Okay, so yeah, go ahead, continue.
Yeah, so Davis Dolan, the sophomore, in Carter Pace was in uniform. He had gotten nicked up a little bit in that exciting win last week at Indy. He was limited in the second half. So with another game on Thursday night, Coach Hester holding him out. He was available if needed, but Davis Dolan decided maybe he's not needed. He got 24 carries unofficially tonight, 102 yards, picked up 2 touchdowns, 1 from 1 yard, 1 from 5 yards. 84 of those yards and 15 of those carries came in the second half when the Raptor offensive line and Dolan took over.
Wow. Now, look, and I know that the offense we've talked a lot about, and you and I have hit on a lot, but, with way Clarksville's playing, we've also, for some reason tonight, we focus a lot on defense. In fact, we were talking to Tate Matthews a second ago, and CPA just got a big shutout victory over Webb. So I feel like the story for Week 7 so far has been the defense that we're starting to see from all these teams. And with Ravenwood, outside of your loss to Alcoa, 28 points against Blackman and 14 against Independence last week in a fantastic football game, you guys are literally only giving up single digits. Like, teams are barely and not even getting into double digits. What's up with this defense? How's this thing continuing to play so well?
Well, here's the thing. I attribute it to depth because they played without starting linebacker Austin Mayfield as well tonight. So they've had to plug some pieces in. This team has still not been fully healthy this season. You got to remember, Femi Babalola was a third-string quarterback. Now he tonight goes 12 of 19, unofficially 166 yards, had a big connection to Ben Hubbard for a 57-yard touchdown pass. Raptors led 10-0 at halftime. Drew Crabtree kicks a 44-yard field goal to open the scoring. But you're exactly right. The defense and special teams are what this Raptor identity is. And on the offensive side, it's a lot of Ben Hubbard. It's Carter Pace when he's healthy. And it's making smart decisions. Look, I got to be fair to Coach Brian Coleman's Spartan squad. Femi Babalola in the first half threw 3 passes that were in the hands of the Summit Spartans, but they could not control them, dropped what were legit interceptions, and the Raptors got a respite. They did not turn the ball over tonight and got 4 themselves. So Coach Hester has cleared out maybe that turnover issue for this week, and a big game coming up on Thursday at Franklin. So what are we going to do next week? You're not on Thursday night.
No, I was just now thinking about that because normally a lot of our correspondents, whether I'm just going to go ahead and throw you in there because you and I talk every week now, so it's become a tradition. So between you and with Tate Matthews and CPA, Sammy Kincaid, we have on from ITV30. They don't have a game next week. I'll be honest with you, I don't know what we're going to do. In fact, I just remembered about the whole fall break thing. So, I'm going to have to talk with some people and figure out how this is all going to be working out because, look, you guys, and I asked Tate Matthews about this because coming up in 2 weeks, they're going to be having a big matchup for them, and I know that they have Antioch next week. But you wrap up the season, and you cannot look ahead to the Battle of the Woods. I mean, this schedule that you guys still have remaining is an extremely difficult schedule, especially the last 2 games.
Oh, no doubt. And I mean, well, that's the thing right now. We're trying, for those 2 games to mean even more, you got to win these 2, right? I mean, you got to beat Summit region game. You got to beat Franklin region game to try to set up something in the Battle of the Woods that would be, even bigger than it's going to be anyway. And then you've got, the 3-time defending 6A state champion Oakland Patriots coming to town on October 20th.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of football, the Raptors trying to get healthy. Look, Oakland's trying to get healthy. As Coach Hester said in our podcast this week on RaptorAthleticsLive.mixler.com, ibuprofen's everybody's best friend this time of year.
It's mine right now, as a matter of fact. I just took some a little while ago because, seasonal
I mean,
allergies.
You gotta stay healthy. You gotta stay feeling good. But yeah,
Body
how about
aches.
this? How about I call you Friday? From spring break, and we'll talk about Thursday night because we can't stop this this string.
No, we absolutely can't, especially, and I'm not going to go in and project a win for you guys, but I'm just going to say that if you do pick up the win on Thursday night, I'm going to say if, just to be fair, because it is a football game, anything can happen. I mean, again, NBA just defeated Knoxville Catholic today, and nobody thought that was going to happen because NBA only had one win on the season, so anything can happen. But if you guys pick up that victory and we're live on Friday, I absolutely want to hear from you, because now we then have to start previewing this Oakland matchup, because as much as people want to focus on the Battle of the Woods, this Oakland team is fantastic, and they haven't lost to any team inside the state of Tennessee because their only loss was to a team from Indiana. So, yes.
Well, and you want to know a little twist on that game there? The team in Indiana, one of the members of their coaching staff is the uncle of our senior cornerback, Gavin Napier-Kowski. So there's some family ties going on there as well.
So does that mean like he can contact Center Grove and you can get some hints about how to – I mean, like, is that like – I mean, it's a family thing. Like, you can hit up family and ask for help, right?
There's no doubt about it. I mean,
everybody
talks football over dinner, so I'm sure that they've discussed the Patriots. Well, everybody takes whatever help they can get. As far as the Admirals are concerned, let me also say this: we're definitely not overlooking them. That Franklin team, I've been saying for a couple of weeks now, they're going to beat somebody this year. You just don't want it to be you.
Well, no, in the Brentwood game that we've been following all night, that was a very tough game for Brentwood. Like, it wasn't an easy victory for them. Same thing goes to the Summit game, because Summit only won by 6, and Brentwood and Franklin was extremely close at periods of time. And even though, they lost to Nolensville, like, you can go back through every single one of their games, and outside of maybe one, they have been really in every single game this season.
Oh, yeah, they're a tough team. They're well coached. And Coach Hester said in his post-game tonight live from the field, because we were given the score updates like we do from around the area, and you heard that tie score or whatever it was. And he was like, from what I heard from the score broadcast, Franklin was playing that other team across the interstate pretty tough tonight. So they'll get set. They're having a full practice on Sunday. Everything's moved up a day, and the Raptors will be ready to go Thursday night.
All right, so I'm going to be paying attention for Thursday, and when you guys wrap up, and if you guys get the victory, again, we just talked about how tough Franklin can be. If you guys get the victory, then I do expect, I don't care what you're doing for fall break, you can hit me up. I don't care if you and your family are just somewhere hanging out watching a movie at the 9 o'clock showing. Don't care.
We'll do it. And then, you can tune in too and listen in on Thursday night if you're not busy.
I mean, I'm not busy. As a matter of fact, Thursday nights we always have Titans football feast, and as after we do that, I'm going to be rolling away from a B-dub somewhere. So I'm absolutely going to be listening.
There you go. Tune us in, RaptorAthleticsLive.mixer.com. We appreciate you guys.
I love how quickly you can just spit off that website. Like, I mean, you're just boom, going with it.
You don't mind, do you?
No, I don't mind. It's just like you're spitting it off so quickly. I'm like, golly, I can't even write this down. Like, how am I supposed to remember this?
I got you. Hey, man, we do appreciate everything you guys do, and thank you very much for the coverage you give to these kids and these high schools. It means a lot.
Look, I absolutely love it, and I love seeing all the stories of how everything is going and how everybody's going. And honestly, like I said before you came on, things evolve through the season, and this has just been one of those really fun things to have you on and talk about it after every single Ravenwood win.
I enjoy it, man. Have a great weekend.
All right, have a good one, sir. We'll talk to you hopefully next week as Ravenwood getting another victory tonight. It is their 6th in a row, and 4 games in a row that they have won. In 3 of those, they've only given up 7 or less points in 3 of those last 4 wins. So Ravenwood playing very well. And just like we talked about and how crazy it is the regular season is we're in week 7 right now. And a team like Ravenwood, I know that they're about to have a week off, especially after Franklin to get ready for Oakland, but they only have 3 games remaining. They play Franklin, then they're at home against Oakland, and then it's the Battle of the Woods at Brentwood. So a lot of games in a lot of seasons are starting to come down to that very end. And what's crazy is that some games like this one, schedule's getting to a point where it's gonna be close because we talked about how we're going to focus kind of on the regions and all the different things that are and all the different games that are happening in the regions, and Ravenwood is one that we'll start with there because in 6A Region 6 you do have Ravenwood and Brentwood both 3-0 right now. Brentwood got that 31-17 victory over Franklin tonight. You have Independence that's right now, they're looking to try to move up in this and hoping somebody can lose so they can move up in the playoff standings. They got a 35-0 victory over Overton tonight. And then, of course, we just mentioned, and this is how it got started, Ravenwood defeating Summit tonight 24-7. When we come back, we're going to roll around some more scores. We just gave you the update of what's happened so far in 6A Region 6. We'll do that for a lot more other regions and kind of give you a little bit more updates of how each individual region is looking as we wrap up Friday night finals. Tonight, you've got a score, maybe one we haven't had, maybe one that we've missed somehow. 615-737-1045 gets you in. Zone TV is rolling as well, so you can hop in the F&M Bank chat and get that going. And then when we wrap it up, all eyes are going to turn towards Knoxville because then we start focusing on South Carolina and Tennessee that you'll be able to hear right here on 104.5 The Zone. Got about 10 minutes on Friday Night Finals. We appreciate everybody that's been listening all night long. You got Upperman and Smith County tonight in a fantastic game, 14-0, as Upperman remains undefeated on the regular season. We appreciate Tate Matthews hopping in to talk about CPA. We appreciate as well as Chris Bozen coming in just a few moments ago to talk about Ravenwood, as they have got 3 very difficult games. And again, even though Franklin has not won a game this season, they are in every single game. And there was a period of time late in that second half tonight that they were tied with Brentwood and had an opportunity to take a lead. So a lot of games going down, and we're starting to get into the last few weeks of the regular season. So for the next 10 minutes or so, we're going to kind of give you an update on how things are going, specifically between regions of each region. So like, for instance, just a few seconds ago, we were talking about CPA, who remains, and goes to 4-0 so far on the season in the region. But inside of that region as well, you have Franklin Road Academy, Pope John Paul, Davidson Academy, BGA, Good Pasture, and we're at Webb. And so we just talked about that big win that CPA had tonight over Webb, who Webb has not won a game so far this season. But inside of the region as well, Nashville Christian defeated Good Pasture in that. That was obviously a non-region game, but Good Pasture now they have still not won a game so far in the region. You did have FRA and Davidson Academy tonight in a big matchup, one of the bigger ones of the night. And in fact, Ty Clark in that game had, I believe, 3 separate touchdowns for Franklin Road Academy to win 34-19. And then you have BGA and Pope John Paul going into overtime, and Pope John Paul getting the 34-33 victory in that one. Now, let's get to some more scores, as I'll throw it to our man Reed to hit that music. You can also give us a call at 615-737-1045 if you have got a score that you want to hit on and at least let us know about that we might have missed so far in the evening as we're going. Let's look at the region that Hendersonville is in, because right now Hendersonville, that 5A, that Region 7 that they are currently in, they're in the same region with Henry County, Beach, Springfield, Hunters Lane, and Portland. So far, Portland on the year only 1-6. They actually lost to Henry County tonight, 45-13. Hunters Lane lost tonight in a very high-scoring game as they lost to Stratford 47-40, and Hendersonville picked up that 21-7 victory over Springfield this evening. Beach was off tonight. They are going to be back next week as they take on Henry County. That game is going to be a Friday night game next week that we're going to be talking about a lot in a matchup of, even though Beach going into this is 3-3 and taking on a Henry County team that is 6-1, Beach undefeated in the region, and so is Henry County. So we'll be focusing on that one next week as well. Some other games that we're going to be focusing on, and one that we'll talk about in a little bit more in depth next week, as one game that we've mentioned was the fact that Greenbrier tonight defeated White House Heritage 27-15, them being in that 4A Region 5. That's also with Marshall County, Pearl Cone, who's undefeated, White House, Creekwood, some of those schools. But so in that region, Marshall County won tonight 41-0 over Creekwood. Pearl Cone got a big 49-0 victory over Whites Creek. Fairview defeated Montgomery Central 34-20, and Station Camp defeated White House 21-15 in that matchup. Some other games that we've been paying attention to happen to be the one that Independence played tonight, because Independence picking up a win over Overton 35-0. Now they play in that exact same region with Ravenwood and with Brentwood, that 6A Region 6. And we mentioned the Ravenwood. Independence picked up the 35-0 victory in that one as well. Continuing to look around and going kind of region by region with some of the games that are and that did happen tonight that you're going to want to be paying attention to as we get closer and closer to the end of the regular season there, because we had so many games in this. Centennial Centennial had a massive victory tonight. Not so much as massive because of who they beat. It was a region win, but they won 62-0. And in fact, over the last 3 weeks, Centennial has shut out actually 3 of the 4 teams that they have played over the last month of play. I'm talking about that class in that 5A Region 6, which is the same region that you have Page, Nolensville, Hillsboro, Glencliff, and Lawson in there. Now, Page had a big win over Lawson tonight, 50-0. The matchup between Nolensville and Hillsboro was arguably one of the better matchups and one of the bigger matchups in Middle Tennessee tonight, and Nolensville picked up the 20-16 win in that one as well. Now, some of these games, specifically with Centennial and with Page, looking at the remaining games that they have so far on the season, you have Brentwood, Page, and Hillsboro coming up for Centennial. That Page matchup is going to be on October 20th. The weird thing is, as we've looked through a lot of the schedules and a lot of the games that we're going to be covering over the next few weeks, I know a lot of teams are going to be on fall break next week. Some teams are not going to be playing. But October 20th is setting up to have some massive games through Middle Tennessee. And yes, Centennial and Page is one of those. We were just talking about how Ravenwood is going to be playing Oakland that week. You have matchups of other teams that I know that we're going to be focusing on as we get closer to that October 20th week that's going to be happening. But I know a lot of people are going to be on vacation next week, but that October 20th is going to have a ton of good football games. And even with Page, like Page has Hillsboro coming up next week, so they can't even start looking towards that Centennial matchup. And then after Centennial, they also have Nolensville. So Page, even though right now they are still looking at this season and they're looking at their record as what it is right now, being 6-1, I know they only have two wins so far in region, but they have a bunch of big games happening over the course of the next few weeks to wrap up the regular season and get into this. And that's a region that is still wide open because of how close some of these games are. Now, another game that we were paying attention to because it was the MyTV 30 game was the Smyrna matchup that they had with East Nashville, and Smyrna getting the 17-14 victory, a late touchdown in that one. Looking around their region, 6A Region 5, you had Laverne getting a win over McGavock tonight, 27-12. The Smyrna victory we just talked about tonight, 17-14. Mount Juliet tonight got a 31-14 win over Antioch in this. And going into this one, Antioch is the number 1 team so far in that region because the matchup that they had tonight with Mount Juliet was a non-region game. The game that they have next week against CPA is a non-region game. Their last 2 region matchups is going to be Smyrna, and it's going to be Laverne on the 20th and the 27th of October. So they have 2 weeks off before they go into this one. They've got so far region wins against Stewart's Creek, against McGavock, and against Cane Ridge, but they still have the last 2 of the regular season coming up here in just a few weeks. So the Antioch CPA game is one that we talked about with Tate Matthews. If you missed that, you can, if you're on Zone TV, especially on YouTube, you can rewind it. You can listen to it that way as well. As we're wrapping up the Friday night finals tonight here on 104.5 The Zone. We just had a comment a few minutes ago about Daryl, from Daryl, talking about how good Pearl Cone is so far this season. Yes, so far, undefeated on the season. Not just undefeated, okay? And I'm not just hyping this up because it's Ron Slay's team and he sits to where I'm sitting. He sits directly to my left right now, and he always wants to talk about how much he loves Pearl Cone. Not only are they undefeated, the last time they gave up a point, let me look at this. Yes, the last time that Pearl Cone actually gave up a point in a game was September 8th. Montgomery Central, Station Camp, and Whites Creek, shutout, as Pearl Cone is now getting ready to take on Greenbrier next week. That does it for Friday Night Finals. Tomorrow, don't forget, you have Sammy Kincaid getting everything going at 7 a.m. We talked about how she's going to be joined by Teresa Walker on her show, the Power Hour at 7. Tate Matthews comes on at 8 o'clock. Coach Matthews is then on at 9, and Vol Network goes live at 4:30 for the Vols in South Carolina. And also don't forget on Sunday, 9 a.m., countdown to kickoff, the League Company countdown to kickoff. Get you ready for Titans and Bengals at Nissan Stadium. It has been a fantastic week 7. We will see you next week. Even though other schools are on fall break, we're not. I don't believe so. We'll talk to you about that next week as we come back to you with Friday Night Finals live on 104.5 The Zone.